if you like points, then my guest is probably the best person to ask about how to score the basketball. I'm just saying it's just one of the many traits that he possesses, and we have him on the podcast. So let's get right into it. My guest for this evening, this afternoon, or this morning, for however you may be listening to this podcast, for episode 56, yes, the big 5-6 of this podcast, Hoops Across the Mountain State. He was a two-year player at Glenville State prior to going to Fairmont. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This is my favorite part. This is my absolute favorite part. My man walks in there, his first year of eligibility. He says, okay, give me the ball. Cashes in 92 made three-pointers. Okay, you're like, oh, wow, he did that. Just hold on. Brace yourselves. He repeated it, but he was 6 shy, and he made 86, making a grand total of 178 in 2 seasons. No, excuse me, 92 and then 86 in 2 seasons with Fairmont State, with a grand total of 178. How about, as Matt, I love this quote just because I love it. I love the movie too, but have you ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting? And the part where Matt Damon walks up to the window, pushes a napkin up on the window, and says, "How do you like them apples?" There you go. 178 apples just fell off that tree with my man. My man also just recently signed with Brase Bamberg. Yes, you heard that correctly. Now, if you recall back into our previous episodes with Chase Feeler, Parkersburg South grad, he just finished playing overseas at Brase Bamberg. Another West Virginia connection is Alex Ruoff, just finished playing at Brase Bamberg as well over in Germany. So we'll dive into that as well. But without further ado, I mean, what else could you say about my guest? I mean, what else could you say? Let's introduce our guest for episode 56 of Hoops Across the Mountain State, Mr. Jamel Morris. Jamel, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
My man, we first met at the TBT. I just thought to myself, wow, I just looking at your bio, I'm just like, wow, I need to get him on. I mean, he's got a story, and you probably do got a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, I got a lot, man. The journey's been crazy, but I have a good story, underdog story, however you want to tell it. So
we'll go right ahead. Let's just lead it off that way. So just for people that don't know about Jamel Morris, tell the audience about Jamel Morris. What makes this story so unique in the true underdog story?
I honestly would say because I literally come from my basketball background is I've never been the main person. I've always been the second fiddle. I've always been too small. He's not ready yet. He's a couple years away. So in high school, I was never, an all-state guy or anything like that. I was my senior year. I didn't play varsity until I was a junior. It really didn't start until I was a senior. To our respect, we had some really good high school teams in Gahanna, Ohio. I think my senior year, I averaged like 10 points a game. But I was first team all conference, but, like I said, no all district, no all state, none of that. And I was 6 foot, 140 pounds, soaking wet, and I didn't have any schools, honestly. I didn't have any schools that were really, I had some interest from schools. Obviously some around the WEVIAC, but at the time was the WEVIAC. But nobody really jumped out with an offer. And then Rob Summers was a guy that went to my high school that, played at West Virginia years back. And every time he would come back from playing overseas, I would catch him at the YMCA, and then he would just have me rebound for him. And then all of a sudden now he would start rebounding for me a little bit. And we just built a little connection, but that was when I was, early high school, like 9th grade, I would say, something like that. And, fast forward to a couple of years, he sees me at an all-star game and throws me my first offer. And at Glenville State, tells me to come down for a visit. Him and Stephen Dye, who's at Alderson Broadus now, gave me an opportunity. And I think Rob's seen something that not too many people seen. And, I'll forever appreciate Rob for that. And I'm so happy to see where he's at now. Even Dye, I'll always give Coach Dye his credit for giving me the opportunity, and just them. And then they just gave me the opportunity just to play, just come in here, just play, like how you play in open gym or at a YMCA. And, kind of just took off there. And, we weren't very good my freshman year, but I played well. My sophomore year, played well, met Joe through, as he joined the staff at the time. But just my story, man, just always just coming from an underdog, just coming from, never been that second always been that second field, never been that main guy. So to see where, I am at today it's a blessing.
Well, my man, you hit a lot there, especially towards the end. So I want to go over, just for people again that don't know about your story, I want to sort of branch off of what you just said. So you talked about your freshman season. Your freshman year, you averaged 15 points with the Pioneers, and you were also named to the WVIAC All Freshman team following that first year with Glenville. And then obviously you were in second team honors your sophomore year as well at Glenville State. But here's the thing I find really fascinating about you. So you averaged 10 points as a senior. You average 15 points as a freshman in college. Then you're just like, okay, I feel it. I feel it possessed inside of me. I can do this. I can score. You harness your traits and you explode off of it. And you score 20 points. You average 20 points your sophomore year at Glenville State. When you look back at your career, especially early on at Glenville, you mentioned how Coach Dye and Coach Summers really pushed you. Do you think that continuous effort just for you to get better each and every day, and you're seeing it from the coaches because they see something inside of you, and that drive that you see from them just to make you better, that helped you get better off to the side as well? That could help you, work on your ball handling, work on your rebounding, just stuff like that. Did that sort of go hand in hand with you?
I think what helped me with that was they were the first coaches I ever played for that really gave me confidence, in a sense of they just let me play. And that's a unique situation. Not too many people have that opportunity to do that. And they gave me, I obviously had to go in there and show them that I could, do those things. But once I seen that they had confidence in me and trusted me, it gave me more confidence to go out there and just play freely. And meeting Joe at the time, Mazzulla, Joe came in, and I think my freshman to my sophomore year, me and Joe batted heads a lot, my freshman year. You can go as far as say we really didn't like each other at the time because he was super hard on me. He was fresh out of West Virginia, being under Huggins, and he had a tough mentality I wasn't accustomed to, and but I don't know what happened or where we turned at, but we just built a relationship, and I didn't go home my freshman to my sophomore year. I stayed in Glenville and I worked out, with Joe that whole summer. And I think Joe took, like I said, Rob and Dye gave me the opportunity with the freedom. And then Joe took a kid that had some raw talent and just put the polish and put some skill to it. And it was like that literally from that year until I graduated college, and even now. So, like I said, it's all a piece of it. And Joe, but like I said, when it comes to the skill set and give me even more confidence in my skills, I would say Joe really honed that together for me.
West Virginia people, or West Virginia fans, I should say, know of Joe Mazzulla. Everybody knows him as a left-handed player, especially the game that he had against Kentucky in the Elite Eight. That was pretty much his defining game, or the game that really defined Mazzulla at WVU. And then he takes upon you, who's also a left-handed player. See, there's just I thought about this the other day. There seems to be something in the waters down at Glenville State, Fairmont, especially in Ohio, quite frankly. Let's just establish this right now. It's like a Bermuda Triangle of left-handed players just coming out of that area. Is there like a? I'm not going to consider it like a cult, but I'm just going to say, is it like a like a family sort of thing, like a left-handed family?
Man, I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm the only left-handed person in my family, and I think when I was in college, I was maybe one of two people that was left-handed on my teams. Besides at Glenville, at least I know it was me and a guy named Andy Dolman from Parkersburg were the only left-handers on my team that I can think of at the moment. So I'm not sure.
I just find this interesting. So, what hand do you write with? Do you still write left-handed?
Oh, I'm left-hand dominant the whole way. I kick a kickball left-footed, right left-handed, throw left-handed. Like rarely use my right unless I'm playing basketball, honestly.
See, I thought you were giving me like a LeBron James scenario. You shoot and left. You shoot left-handed, but you right-handed. Because LeBron, he shoots right, but he writes left. Ambidextrous is what they call it. But I thought you would pull one of those. Just try and spice it up, get a little pepper in there, just stuff like that. Just trying to.
I wish I was like that. I wish I was like that. Honestly, I have some friends that are like that, but I wish I was. But no, unfortunately, I'm just a left-hand dominant person.
I see. I really do see. So let's continue this basketball discussion. And, looking back at Glenville, You spent 2 years. You played a quality role in that. You learned from Mazzulla, who eventually went on to become an assistant coach under Jared Calhoun at Fairmont. And then lo and behold, not so long after your tenure with the Pioneers, you transfer out of Glenville and you go straight into Fairmont. I've already given the numbers, but looking at that, was that a hard decision to make, leaving Glenville, the team that really sought after you from the get-go, and then now you're going to Fairmont? Was that a hard decision to make?
Oof, it was rough. I mean, it was something I was contemplating, and I think the hardest part was like some of my best friends were at Glenville. My high school, I had a guy named Brian Winston who was my high school best friend that I brought to Glenville. Helped tell Rob and Di about him, and they brought him on as well. And then so he's my best friend since ninth grade, and him and a couple other guys. And it was just hard because the Glenville fans, they love me a lot, and they seen the next thing coming with me. And for me, it was a tough decision because I just felt like it was a better, move for my career, looking for connections wise. And I feel like if I wanted to play at the pro level, just a connection playing under Calhoun. And honestly, like I said, when I was under deciding when I was going to go to Fairmont, Joe at the time told me, I go wherever you want to go. Don't come here first. He said, like, don't come here. And, he was just seeing how everything was going, just we were both just analyzing the situation. And Rob Summers ended up leaving, going to James Madison. And a lot of guys transferred out my sophomore. I think like 10 guys transferred out. And I just didn't see what was going to happen. I wanted to win at the same time. And, I seen an opportunity and after last like a month, and Joe just kind of said, listen, I'm not going to tell you to come here, but I think it'd be your best decision. And like I said, Joe was somebody like I looked at as my mentor. And we kind of just made the decision. I kind of just made this. It was on my own. A lot of people like to say Joe like forced me. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was, he kind of just gave me the freedom of my own. He just weighed out all the options. And I just felt like it was my best opportunity to, elevate my career and my best chance to pursue basketball after when I was done. So that's kind of what went into that.
So I'm a food guy. I'm a food guy. I've already mentioned some spices. I mean, a little pepper, a little paprika as well. It just really depends. But yeah, you're a guy that's coming from Ohio down to West Virginia, and walk me through this, okay? You may or may not hurt my feelings when you say this, but when you were in Glenville or at Fairmont, or even whenever you play for West Virginia, even, have you tried Tudor's Biscuit World?
I have tried Tudor's Biscuit World.
Okay, what's your go-to?
I haven't had it in so long. I think the last time I had it was in Beckley. I was with my friend Sidney Christ, who's a coach at Pikeville now, and I was with him. And I don't remember what I got, honestly, but I remember being there and I liked it. But I haven't been there in so long. It's been some years.
I see. Well, I mean, that's a good answer. I mean, if you were to say that you hadn't tried it, then I'll been like, okay, we got a little bit of an issue here. Just saying.
I haven't. It's been a while.
So as you may or may not know as well, the state food of West Virginia is a pepperoni roll.
I have had that.
Okay, so let me ask you this: are you more of a stick pepperoni or just a circular pepperoni inside of the pepperoni roll? Because that's a big deal,
It is. I'm more of the circular inside the pepperoni.
See, I knew I liked you. I knew I did.
Yeah, I'm more of a circular inside the pepperoni for sure.
Okay, so let me ask you this then: do you mix up the cheeses or do you go straight mozzarella?
Straight mozzarella, man.
You want to be the co-host of Hoops Across the Mountains?
Hey, man. Sometimes you just never know. You got a lot of things in common, my man. So
I understand that. So I find that that's awesome, though. Because I had to ask, just because I talked to Bob Williams, who coached at West Virginia Tech. He's a New York guy. Came down. I just because he actually got one of his first coaching gigs in the state of West Virginia at Glenville. So I'm just like, it's like a big spider web almost, and all these pieces just line up in the middle. It's just, I'm just weird like that, I guess. But anyways, so you get to Glenville, but you get to Fairmont, I should say. Excuse me. But before we continue this Fairmont discussion, I want to ask you about Mazzulla again.
Okay.
So from a standpoint of this, a family aspect, and I know family is very important regardless of athletics or whatever it may be, but you have 3 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider Mazzulla another sibling or even an older brother in that aspect for you?
Yeah, especially at the time, like me and Joe still have a really good relationship. We don't talk as often as we used to because obviously I have my own family now and he's busy with Boston. But for sure, I looked at him as like a big brother. I never really had, just because, and it was more of like a tough love type situation. Like he would praise me, but he was also my biggest critique at the same time. And he was hard on me, but he knew I could take it. But I wouldn't want it, any other way, simply because it, kind of helped me, to where I am today. And but yeah, I would look at him as definitely like a big brother. He probably will look at it like that because just how Joe is. But that's kind of how I viewed it for sure.
Well, I mean, you led me right into this question as well. So describe Joe Mazzulla off the basketball court.
Um, he's a nerd. Nerd in a good way, man. Basketball nerd though. Like if there's one person that is a basketball guru, like it's him. Like he studies it back and forth, but he also likes to mix. Now that he has a child and he has his own family, he likes to mix in. He doesn't like to try to let it take up too much of his time. But he's still one of those guys. He still works super hard. What you see on the court, or what you guys see on the court, is exactly how he is off the court. In the sense of like everything he does to his full potential, and 100%. Always trying, either whether he's working on the bounce thing, trying to help others. Super like especially when I was in school, loved having people over, loving us having us over his house, and watching basketball or just hanging out. That's just the type of guy he is, man. So love Joe to death. He probably hate how much I'm talking about him right now, but that's just what it is.
So another guy as well that has that has WVU ties as well was your head coach at Fairmont, and that was Jared Calhoun, who I previously mentioned. What attracted you about the coaching style that Jared Calhoun possessed? I mean, you just finished with Rob Summers and Coach Dye. Now you're going up I-79, and you're going up to Fairmont with Jared Calhoun, Joe Mazzulla as well. What attracted you mostly about the way he coached?
I just knew the pedigree he was under. I wanted that feeling of being able to play for someone that coached with Bob Huggins. Obviously Bob Huggins is a legend. So the opportunity you get to play with that, and it instilled, because and Jared was, it was tough. He would get in your face. He would push you, similar to Bob. But he was also, it wasn't like that off the court at the same time. But he just instilled that like a tougher mentality. I really had to raise my mental toughness playing for him. And he brought out the best in you, in the sense of he pushed you to the point to limits that you didn't think you could get to. And I think I needed that. I think I was a person, like I loved, like I said, playing for a Dye and Summers, but Jared instilled that I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're coming from. You're going to play this, this certain way, and you're going to play hard. You're going to play defense. And it's really everything I needed, honestly, to elevate my game, to really.
So answer me this thing. You just mentioned the mental toughness aspect of adapting to a more strict coach in Coach Calhoun, which is fine. I mean, that's completely fine. That's how people need to adapt and obviously adjust to the collegiate rankings. But, for people that have not taken a sports psychology class, the mental toughness aspect of that is very important. When you look at the overall game of basketball, and especially your repertoire, how important is mental toughness not only to your game, but also in others' games around you as well?
It's super important. It's probably one of the biggest things in basketball. And it's not saying you have to be a tough guy, just looks like he doesn't care about anything and just being hard on people. No, it's just being able to handle adversity. Because with basketball, you just never know what's going to happen, whether it be missing shots, going through slumps, injuries, just things not going your way. You have to have the mental toughness to be able to get over those things and not let it bother you. I'm not saying don't let it bother you at all, but like you have to be able to fight through it. And because we've all, with basketball, I've been through every emotion with this game, and injuries and everything, and it's just something that that's really important, because if not, it's going to break you. And a lot of people aren't, even guys at the pro level don't have it, but their skill or talent much overmatch it. But that mental toughness aspect is something I feel as a player in any sport or in life in general is important to have, because you need to be able, adversity is that big word I like to use. And this, you have to have mental toughness to be able to get over adversity for things not going your way, because things won't go your way all the time. And you have to have the mental toughness to be able to get over it and get through it.
So I find this aspect of mental toughness and that sports psychology aspect of it also fascinating. And that is how people rebound following, either a bad turnover, missed wide open shot, just anything little like that. It always messes with somebody's head. And I could assume you went through that as well. What did you do, or what did you say to yourself that really just kept your mind focused on the game and just always led to, okay, next play?
It took me a while to get to that next play mode. To be honest with you, I'd be lying to you if I said that I just got it right away, because I didn't. And it takes a lot of people around you to coach you through it. I was, like I said, Joe's one of those people to be like, who cares? Whatever happened, just move on. Because if you keep dreading upon it, it's going to make your game worse. Because I'm the type of person, if I'm 3 for 10 or something like that, I'm just thinking like, oh, I'm just done for the rest of the day. And it took me a while to get to that point where you're like, oh, well, like, you just have to keep playing through it. Or if you have one game like that, you just got to focus on the next game. Because if you let it hang on you, it's going to carry on. That's how I think people get in these droughts and these slumps, because they just let it just weigh on them. And you can't let it weigh on you. You just have to move on. And especially if you want to be professional, because being a professional, that's the best thing you can do, is to move on to the next play, move on to the next game. And you can't worry about it, because like I said, when you worry about it, it just makes your game worse. Whether it be injuries, and I've dealt with that as well. I always I'm a religious person. I like to keep my faith in God, knowing that everything happens for a reason. So just stay the course and just stay, to your principles and what you do, and it all work out.
So I want to bring something up. So for people that are either just still trying to figure out what Jamel's trying to say, let me give you a prime example of what Jamel was trying to say. What I'm trying to say as well. When you look back at Jamel's first season, so his first season with Fairmont State, there was a 3-game stretch between December 13th against Winston-Salem State and that another 2 games later against Urbana on January 3rd. He went a combined 1 of 13. Now, hold on just 1 second. You may be thinking, so what's the whole point of this? I'll tell you why. The next 3 games following that, in a 5-game span between January 5th and January 10th, they played Notre Dame College, Wheeling Jesuit, and Concord. Get this. This is honestly amazing. He went 17 of 27. So, Jamel talked about trying to get to that next play. He did not only a next play, he did a next game. Let me rephrase that. He did next games, for that matter. So that's a prime example right there, my man. I mean, first and foremost, kudos to you for rebounding like that. But second of all, did you have like a fire extinguisher handy with you, like when you go back to the bench, like underneath your chair, just if Coach Calhoun was bringing you off the bench or putting you on the bench, you just go over, get the fire extinguisher out, either 1 during a timeout, just go spray the net, or 2, just go spray off your shoes, or even your hands for that matter. I mean, something had to have been lit on fire for that matter.
I don't, I think I'm the type of person, like, once I get in a rhythm, I stay in a rhythm for a while. And those games, I think if I can remember, we're like close to each other. So once I'm in a rhythm, I stay in a rhythm and I just lock in. I just get to a zone that I just feel like, as much as people say, well, when you have a bad game, you can't, people weigh it, you think I have another bad game. When you have a good game, string good games together. I play well. I feel like I'm going to play well again this next game. And I think that's just kind of what I did. And that's what I've tried to carry with me, throughout my whole career thus far.
So before we get back into basketball, I have to ask, what did you graduate with once you got done with college?
What I graduate with?
Your degree. What was your degree?
I was business administration with a sports management focus.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay, we'll hold on to that. Okay, but anyways, let's get back into basketball. So your story is always going to be unique just because of the numbers that you put up, and we've already mentioned the underdog story and everything else. But I want to talk about Fairmont as a whole now. Looking back at those 2 years in your career, whenever I bring up the words Fairmont State, what just immediately comes to mind to you?
Just a winning culture. Just about Fairmont, the community gravitates toward the basketball program so much, and they show so much love. They show so much passion for it. Like, still to this day, I can go around Fairmont, people, will still just think about, the times that we were there. And the love and the support they showed from the community there was unbelievable. And just not through just us, just through the tradition they have with Joe Redden, and even when Jared got there, the players that have gone through there, I just think of a win tradition and community, honestly. And I think that's what makes Fairmont so great. And I think that's what that separates them from a lot of schools in the conference, is just that community and that fan base is unreal.
So describe the fan base then, because you played at Glenville. You obviously saw what a WVU crowd was like during the TBT. Now put into perspective Fairmont State's fan base.
Fairmont, at least the times when I was there, they were there every home game. Every home game. Like, you don't see too much where you get at least 1,500 to 2,000 people at a D2 game, almost every home game. And I credit that to Jared for really amping that program up when he got there, getting out there, raising money for the teams and for the team and for the program, and just everything that he did to get the school fully funded for, us to have 10 scholarships, from 4 full to 10 fulls and courtside seats. And he really brought from WU, he just brought it to Fairmont. And I felt like it was just a smaller version of WU, just, playing for them.
So let's go player personnel. Actually, let's say it like this. Let's do a scouting report. Okay. Who was the hardest guy that you had to shoot over, like defending wise?
Shoot over.
Or score on. Score on would probably be a better word to use.
I would say my teammate.
Really?
I would say my teammate, Thomas Wimbush.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about him. Oh yeah.
Thomas Wimbush is probably one of the best defenders I've ever, till this date, played against in my life. For sure. I would definitely say that.
So then defensively, looking at the game now, especially professional, let's do it from that angle. From a professional aspect, when you look at Wimbush's defensive arsenal, who would you most compare him to in the NBA?
Oh, that's tough. He said, I would honestly compare him to how Trevor Ariza used to be.
Ooh.
Athletic wing, can shoot it, defend. That's who I compare Thomas to.
That's interesting, because I've never heard anybody bring up Trevor Ariza whenever that question's asked to anybody. So that's, again, you're just I don't know how to respond now.
If I can compare, honestly, and maybe it's because I just heard the name with him signing with the Lakers and everything, but when I think about Thomas, I always thought that came to mind. But he reminds you of so many athletic wing defenders that can shoot the 3 ball. Now that he couldn't do that at first when he got to Fairmont, but leaving Fairmont, now he can shoot the 3 ball. His athletic ability is off the charts. Besides Trevor Ariza, it's tough. But if I could think of one person right now at the moment, I would say Trevor Ariza.
Hey, that's good with me, because quite frankly, that's an amazing description of a player, just because of the way that Ariza played with the Lakers, especially whenever they had Kobe and Gasol and all of them. But I want to bring this up. I don't want to bring this up now, but we'll bring it up in a little bit. I'm talking about one of the exhibition games in the TBT. But anyway, okay. So let's put a wrap on this Fairmont State discussion with a couple more questions, and that is, looking back at the 2 years that you played with the Fighting Falcons, was there a specific game that you knew that, one, you bring in the fan base aspect of it, and two, you just bring in the team camaraderie and especially the coaching staff as well. And you're just like, okay, this is home to me. This is where I'm glad I chose to come. But also leaving the respect with Glenville, obviously, but with just Fairmont in general, was there a game or a moment that you just really felt that inside you?
Every West Liberty home game. Every time we played West Liberty at home. Especially in my senior year. Now, granted, we lost, but there was that's probably one of the most intense situations. It was probably about 5,000 people there. I think at the time there were W players that came to watch. It was like standing room only. It was on TV. It was just unbelievable. All you seen, it was like a whiteout, and you could see nothing but just white T-shirts in the stands, and it was standing room only, and like that environment was probably one of the best I've ever played in my life.
So I was going to say, that again, you just let me write in my next question, but you already answered it with the whole, where was the best place to play at? But you just answered that, so it's okay. Okay, so looking at it now from a macro standpoint, let's talk about the WBIAC, now called the MEC. What made that league so unique whenever you were playing? Because you played against a lot of great competition and a lot of great guys and a lot of great coaches as well during that tenure. What just made that conference so unique during your playing career at Glenville State and at Fairmont?
I think it was just a mix. It was an offensively talented league. I think it was so much different than other conferences in the country because we didn't have nobody in our league had traditional big men. It was more so positionless, high scoring, being able to shoot the ball. If you weren't able to shoot the ball and score the ball well, you probably weren't going to go far. You would win games, but you probably wouldn't go really far in that league. And I think that's what made that league so unique. And it showed, especially my senior year. By the end, before the NCAA tournament started, you had Wheeling Jesuit was ranked first in the country. We were ranked third, and West Liberty was ranked fourth. And that's unheard of, really coming from the same conference at the D2 level. And we had, at the time, five, high level, pros. You had me, you had Haywood Highsmith, who was a two-way with the 76ers, who plays professionally now. You had Tanner McGrew. You had Wheeling Jesuit had really good seniors with Eric Seifert and Justin Fritz. You had Seeger Bonifant, of course, can't forget Seeger Bonifant, played at West Liberty, high-level pro. Will Voorhees played at Notre Dame. And they had a very good point guard named Tyree Gator. It was just a really, it was really a lot of heavy seniors that year, but it was just unbelievable talent in that league at the time.
So now that we got our Fairmont and Glenville talk out of the way, let's go to another basketball family that you just established, or even put your foot in the door with, and that was West Virginia this past year in the TVT. Now, I'm curious. I haven't really heard a whole lot, or maybe I'm just clueless in this aspect. But how did getting onto West Virginia's roster come about for you?
It's funny because I've always played against the guys in the summers when I was at Glenville or at Fairmont, going up there in the summer playing against them, and of course being around Joe and Rob, always just going up there in the summers and playing against them in open gyms. And just some of the guys kind of knew who I was already from playing against them in college and just in the summers. And I would go work out there. And then coming back, my first couple of years playing professionally, would go back sometimes in the summers and work out. And Joe was training some of the guys like KJ and Al, John, and some of these guys. And I would just go with them and just meet them through that way. And I played against John this past year in France. And I think I played well against John. I don't know if it had anything to do with it, but I played well against John and his team twice. If he has some questions, he can ask. But I think I just got a call from, I got a text from James one day, and I got a message from Al, and I got a message from John asking me if I wanted to play. Because Jay Sean had went to Puerto Rico last minute, And at first I said no because I got back June 25th and I was just like, I'm not playing nothing this summer. And I really had no plans playing nothing this summer. But they were really, adamant and, persistent on asking to play. And when I really sat down and think about it, talked to my wife about it, does she want to come to Charleston with me? Or, I had to go to Morgantown a couple of times to private practice. And it was tough, but she finally agreed. And I was just like, okay, let's do it. But, like I said, James reached out, Al and John reached out. And maybe it was, like I said, maybe she comes of this, they just seen me over the years, just continues to elevate myself at the pro level. And I was already a Fairmont guy, and they are, being, close with Joe and some of those guys already. And maybe they felt like it was just a good fit.
So you guys played your first exhibition game down in Beckley. You guys go up to Wheeling and take on a team that was trying to get their foot in the door into the TBT, and that was Underground Kings. But if you look them up on Twitter, their Twitter handle is Kings of MEC.
Mm-hmm.
So let's run down this roster because they tweeted out their roster or the lineup they had for you guys' game against West Virginia. So you had Tanner McGrew, Will Voorhees, like you just said, God Shamgod, Tommy Bolte, Matt Bingaye, Brent Arrington, Maurice Whitehurst, and Norville Carey. Now, from that group, other than Tanner and Will, how many of those other guys did you play against whenever you played in the WVIAC or even in the MEC?
Well, Gosh Guy was my teammate.
Okay.
He was my teammate at Fairmont. Matt Bengai was also my teammate at Fairmont. He was actually a first-team All-American at Fairmont. He was a really good player there. He didn't end up playing. And then the other guys were like from that DMV area, so I wasn't familiar with them. But I think he had to fill those spots. And Tommy Bolte I played against. He was a freshman at the time, but he ended up being a really, really good player at Concord. But the other guys I didn't play against before. I think they were just guys he had to get last minute. So
I assume John and James Long and Coach Tallman and Coach Butler just came up to you and you're just like, hey Jamel, what's the scouting report on these guys?
No, the crazy part, I didn't play that game. I went to go watch, and at that time I still was undecided. I didn't know if I wanted to play. I had told them no, and I was there, and they were all giving me like a little hard time about, I can't believe you told us no. You gotta, but jokingly giving me a hard time. And then I think after the game they played, God Shamgod came up to me at the time, and he was like, "You have to play with them." And he called because they knew I was close. I'm close with him as well, and they were like, "You have to play." And that's when I got the text from James and John, and like 2 days after that scrimmage, and they were like, "Can you please, can you please play?" It wasn't like, "Can you please play?" Like Baker was like, can you reconsider not playing? So, and that's kind of how that went. And then after that, I think that's when I talked it over with my wife and was like, "Okay, let's do it." So
that's funny. That's funny. Yeah. So you guys' first game at the TBT in Charleston, the Charleston Regional, was against Wilco Showtime. Mm-hmm. Now, as a guy that didn't play collegiate basketball at WVU, I'm fascinated at your answer whenever you give it. You run out of the tunnel, you got the band playing, you got everybody up on their feet, you got the alumni song going on. I mean, you just got it's like Mardi Gras going on. Mm. What's just going through your head at that moment?
Unreal. I got chills. Like I honestly got. I don't remember last time like I ever ran out and got chills. Like, I got chills when I ran out and heard the band and the fans, and it was honestly unreal. Like I get chills just talking about it right now because I told my mom and my dad, like I was like, that was like, even like my wife, I was like, that's crazy. Like it was crazy, like going to a game and watching it, but being a part of it is indescribable. Like it was unreal.
So now I'm into my next question with this game against Wilco. Well, actually, it's not really a question. It's more of a story. You'll love this. I don't think I told you this. So I'm sitting there on media row, and it's going back and forth during the Elam ending, which, by the way, greatest thing known to mankind in regards to the basketball game. Just saying. But anyways, so I'm sitting there. You guys are going back and forth with Woko. Woko comes down. It's pretty much next point wins at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there. I can't really show a whole lot of emotion just because I'm on media row. It's not really like a rule, but it's just frowned upon.
Mm.
So I'm sitting there. I got my hands like this. My hands. I'm not really sitting crisscross. I just have like my legs twisted like a pretzel. And all of a sudden, I get this buzz on my wrist. I'm like, what the heck is this? Because I'm like, who's texting me in the middle of this game? And it's probably just like somebody that I know just texted me like, are you watching this game? I'm right here. Anyway, so I look at my watch. Do you want to take a guess at what popped up on my Apple Watch?
I would assume it had to be some type of tweet or something.
It told me to breathe. I swear. I will never forget that just because I looked down and it's just saying, Taylor, you need to breathe. I'm just like, is this like I like look up, I'm like, is this a sign?
No, I think everybody at that moment needed to breathe.
It
was tense. It was tense. I mean, being a part of that, I was tense when I seen them come back and I was just sitting there watching at the time because I wasn't in the game. And I was like, there's just no way. Like, there's no way they came back down 10 and we have a chance of possibly losing this game. Like, there's no way. Like, it can't happen.
So how about that Fletcher McGee guy? Woo!
Fletcher can shoot it.
Yeah.
Fletcher can absolutely shoot it. Like, it's one thing, like, you scout it, but it's another thing, like, when they say you can't give him any space, you literally can't give him any space because it's automatic.
So let me ask you this. For that guy. So let me ask you this then. From all the guys that you've seen play overseas and collegiately, would you consider him the best shooter that you had to face?
I play some really good shooters, but he's definitely one of them.
Okay.
He's definitely one of them, but he's up there for sure.
I had to put you on the spot, by the way.
Nah, Fletcher can really shoot it. I played against some good shooters, but he's definitely up there.
I agree. Okay, so let me ask you this then. Talking about the TBT, are you a fan of the Elam ending?
I'm indifferent about it. I would say I love it, but I don't say I hate it at the same time. For this setting, for the TBT, I like it.
Okay.
Now, granted, do I think if it wasn't in there, do I think we win that game against Team 23? Yes, absolutely. I think we win the last two games by like 15 plus. But considering the circumstances, it gives the other team a chance. And it makes you have to really, play the same. It doesn't give you a chance to really stall or, in a way of just trying to wait, run the time down. You have to play basketball. You have to, score to win the game. It ends on a bucket. And I respect that. And it's something, it's nerve-wracking, I'll tell you that. It's probably, I will say that. Could I see it in like the NBA game? No. But for this TBT setting, I will say I like it.
Do you approve of it being adopted for the All-Star game? The NBA All-Star game?
Yeah, I do. I think that when they had it, I think even NBA players at the time loved it. I think just for that setting in the All-Star game, they loved it. But for it to be, I couldn't imagine watching the NBA Finals and having an Elam ending. I just couldn't. Like, I just couldn't. Maybe that's just me wanting to be basketball, just be traditional, but I just could not imagine.
Could you see it happen in collegiate basketball?
I see them trying it out.
Okay.
And I see them trying it out. Maybe I wouldn't say the NCAA tournament, but maybe in like the preseason tournaments. Maybe like the NIT or something like that, or the tournament. Some of the guys that don't make it to the NCAA tournament, like the CBI and the NIT, maybe for those, but I couldn't see it right now happening for the NCAA tournament.
I think you're onto something here, Jamel. I think you're onto something.
I mean, I feel like you should test it out and see. Test it out and see, and then it's like if you like it, then go with it. If not, then keep it traditional. So I think those are the only chances you should actually try it. Okay. For those.
I agree. No, I'm on the same page with you, so I agree.
Yeah.
So going back to this TBT discussion, so you guys win 2 of the 3 games you guys played, and that lone game coming against Team 23, which by the way made it to the championship game in the TBT.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys lose to Team 23, and then just from that point on, I assume this is just from me, and especially just being on social media, just consistently being on Twitter, especially just scrolling through Twitter, just the amount of love and support that Mountaineer Nation gave to not only you, but everybody. What did that mean to you, especially?
It definitely means I see why guys that play for West Virginia stay in Morgantown. I could see why they don't leave and then why they show so much love and when they give back and things like that, because that support was something I didn't know how people were going to react after we lost. But the reaction that we did get was I could see, why that fan base is so close, because that meant a lot, because now as a player, and especially guys, when you play overseas, there's a lot of hostile environments overseas where you're playing for teams. And if you're losing, you get a lot of hate for it. And to see that reaction from the fans was touching, honestly. So that I like that a lot. And it makes you like want to come back. It makes you want to support because, how they reacted.
I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Okay.
So John Flowers calls you maybe 7-8 months from now, hypothetically. He calls you or texts you and says, "Hey Jamel, we got a roster spot open on West Virginia. You in? What do you just would you want to explore going back and playing for West Virginia in the TBT again?"
I asked John after the game if I was a lock for next year.
And
he said, of course. So we'll see what happens. But, it's 7-8 months, a long time. So you never know, guys that graduate there might be more West Virginia guys. I don't know if they're going to go the route of adding some more non-West Virginia guys or, just keeping it me and other, mostly West Virginia. So, or they might just go all West Virginia alumni. You just never know. A lot can happen in 7-8 months. So we'll see.
Okay. I like it.
I would like to play for them again, but I would understand either way, of course. So
see, you're killing me right now. You're killing me. You're being too humble. You're being too humble. you just gotta be like, listen, John, I'm coming back on this team and we're gonna win it all.
I definitely think we have a chance to win it all. I think we had a chance this year. I think if we beat Team 23, I think, we'll get to Dayton. I think we'd have had more time to practice, more time to get acclimated with each other. I think we'd have really made a good run to win it. So I think there's some things that we should tweak for next year, if having the same team or whatever the case may be. But I think we, again, have a good chance of doing it again.
I like it. I like the sound of that. And we'll end on this note. So I had mentioned that you signed with Braze Bamberg back on July 19th.
Mm-hmm.
What led you to signing with that team over in Germany?
It was a great opportunity for my career as a step up from where I've been. It's probably the most well-known team I've played for since being, playing professionally. That's really it. I mean, Al told me the pros and the cons. And for me, the pros outweighed the cons. And it was, like I said, it was a good situation. Being in Germany, playing for that's an historical team. So I think that's what really led me to signing with them.
So now outside of Braze Bamberg,
mm-hmm.
looking back at the other teams and the other countries that you've played in,
mm-hmm.
where has been the best place you've played basketball in?
I love the Warsaw, Poland. I love the Warsaw, Poland, just because I'm a big city guy, and Warsaw is a big city. Warsaw is the capital. There's a lot of history there from the World War and everything, and it was, I liked it a lot. It was tough. It's tough saying that because when I was in Croatia, I was right on the coast, so it was, and that's a big location, vacation spot in Europe in Split, Croatia. So it's tough saying that because it never got below 50. It rained a lot during certain times of the year, but when it was nice out, it was unbelievable. But I would have to say probably Warsaw just because of the big city.
And again, we're going to go back to food, and we're going to end on this note. We're going to end on a good note, and we're going to end on a tasteful note.
Okay.
Best cuisine that you have had overseas?
Oof.
I'm telling you, I'm testing you a lot throughout this podcast. I'm just letting you know that.
I became a really big fan of when I was in Italy my first year.
Okay.
I became a big fan of mussels.
Really?
Became a big fan of mussels. I don't know what it was, but I became a huge fan of it.
What about? I mean, was it
I
just
I like seafood,
okay?
and I just never had tried it before. I didn't think I would like it, but I ended up liking it a lot. And I had it in a pasta form. I had it just all like just mussels in a bucket. It was just I just liked it, man. I don't know what it was, but I would say probably that. And I've had a lot of meals, but I can't. If I could think and pinpoint right now, what it would be, it'd probably be mussels when I was in Italy.
Now, when you were in Italy, did you go pasta heavy?
Yeah. I had pasta probably every other day.
Stop, please.
I got to a point where it was too much. Like I was just like, okay, like I think I came back to the States to eat pasta for like a month. It was that much. It was that bad. That's how much I ate it over there.
So what was it? Was it spaghetti? Was it lasagna? Was it ravioli? Rigatoni?
Any type of pasta you could think of, they have it. It was carbonara, spaghetti, seafood pasta with gnocchi. It was just a lot. It was like I didn't think there's many forms of pasta.
How about that?
Yeah, it was good at the time, but I say by the time I come out around 1.7, I was like, okay, I'm over it. Okay, enough is enough.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's awesome, dude. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you're going over to Germany to continue your overseas career. As probably everybody that's a Mountaineer fan is expecting this as well. We hope to see you back wearing the blue and gold, or the gold and blue, I should say, in the TBT next year, regardless of where it may be. So we're hoping for that. Best of luck the rest of the way from you. And again, thank you for doing this. I really do appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you for having me, man. This means a lot. And I hope I could play in the blue and gold next year. We'll see. The Mountaineer fan base welcomed me in with open arms, and I appreciate them for that.
Hey, just saying, you're now a part of the Mountaineer basketball fraternity now.
That's a great thing to be a part of. I noticed that in my social media notifications blowing up from that. So I'm glad to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Well, Jamel, best of luck the rest of the way from you, and we'll talk soon.
All right, thank you, man.
That will conclude episode 56 of Hoops Across the Mountain State with our sharpshooting guest, Jamel Morris. And again, you can subscribe to Hoops Across the Mountain State on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we're now on YouTube as well. You can find me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 with all the latest updates, latest news, stuff like that regarding this podcast as well. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe, and I will catch you all next time on episode 57.